Transmigrating into Princess Lily was bad enough. Transmigrating right after she drugged the legendary King of Hell and chained him to the bed was far worse. As the great general's eyes burned with a mixture of desire and pure hatred, I realized I was guaranteed a slow death the moment he broke free. In this novel, I was the vicious supporting character. In reality, I was dead meat. Chapter 1. No exaggeration. My scalp tingled. My hands and feet went weak. How did she ever dare? I wanted to cry and ask the original Lily, how could you dare lock this god of slaughter to your bed? And then, for fun, sprinkle petals all over him, as if he were some favored boy toy waiting meekly for your affection. Do you not know the men he's killed on the battlefield could carpet your entire princess manor? Original Lily, did you decide the thing on your neck was optional? I forced down the terror in my chest and tried to cut the tension. General Meng, good morning. Have you eaten? Leonard Meng turned that cold gaze on me. He'd bathed, but no water could wash away the crushing aura around him. That sharp edge had been tempered by countless kills on the battlefield. Every hair on my body stood on end. I didn't even dare look straight at him. No need to pretend, he sneered. It's a misunderstanding, really a misunderstanding. Gritting my teeth, I crawled up onto the bed. I'll unlock you right now. The gold chain was cinched tight around the bedpost. I fumbled all over myself before finally digging a key out of my pouch. Forgive me. Under that man-eating stare, I didn't dare stall any longer. Half kneeling by his side, I leaned over to open the lock above his head. The position was ridiculously awkward, my breath spilling all over Leonard Meng's face. I watched with my own eyes as the faint pink on the general's cheeks darkened to a burning red. Sweat beaded at his temples. His eyes were dark with restraint. Hurry up. But the more I wanted to hurry, the more my hands shook. I tried the key again and still couldn't find the keyhole. Click. The lock opened. I hadn't even had time to feel happy when my vision blurred. A strong hand clamped hard around my neck and slammed me down onto the bed. I started shaking all over again. Bloodshot veins filled Leonard Meng's eyes. His hot breath brushed my ear. Your Highness, you dare. You fed me a love goo? He gave a cold laugh, his grip tightening. His other hand moved with chilling ease, tugging loose my sash. His fingers on my throat cut off my air. I could only force one broken word through my teeth. Don't? Isn't this what you wanted? His palm burned against my skin, but his voice was ice. You threatened me with a life to force me to marry you. Now you use a goo to force me to consummate the marriage. You are a princess of the Great An Kingdom. Why be so cheap? White light sparked across my vision. I thought I felt tears sliding down, falling on his hand. I'm sorry, I gasped. When I'd read the book, I'd actually liked the romance between the male lead, Leonard Meng, and the heroine, Evelyn Wan. They were childhood sweethearts. Their families had arranged their betrothal long ago, just waiting for him to return from war to wed. But the original Princess Lily had taken one look at him, triumphant as he entered the capital city, and fallen in love at first sight. She kidnapped Evelyn Wan and threatened to kill her unless the male lead married her instead. If she couldn't have him, no one would. Lily was the Emperor's most beloved youngest daughter. She held his little sweetheart, his career, and his future in her hands. Leonard Meng was helpless and could only marry her. When I'd read the book, I'd wanted the vicious supporting character off the page as soon as possible. Now, with Leonard Meng's hand almost crushing my throat, my mind was filled with only 4 big words. Please don't kill me. Today, Leonard Meng and I had been summoned to the palace. I wrapped a strip of gauze around my neck, then climbed into the carriage. Leonard Meng rode alone on horseback. That day, for reasons I didn't know, he'd suddenly let go of my neck right before I passed out. My fingers brushed the fading bruise around my throat, and a quiet relief stirred in my chest. The sins Lily had committed were mine to repay. Propping my head in my hand, I wondered if I could ask for a divorce, then help Leonard Meng and the heroine Evelyn Wan reunite. Once Leonard was back in power, maybe he wouldn't come after me. Lifting the curtain, I looked at the man in front of us, shoulders broad, arms like steel, and a thought struck me. Before the divorce, I'd have to get that love goo removed first. If it flared up again, Leonard Meng would definitely kill me. Before we entered the palace, Leonard eyed the gauze at my neck and snorted. No need to cover it, Your Highness. Best you throw yourself at His Majesty like always and complain, so he can see how brutal I am. He was talking about the original plot. On their wedding night, Leonard Meng had drilled with his troops in the training yard all night and never even set foot in the bridal chamber. On the third day, when they returned to the palace, Lily had thrown herself into her imperial father's arms, sobbing and demanding that he punish Leonard severely. The result was Leonard being suspended from office and forced to remain in the capital city to serve the princess. Their relationship plunged to absolute zero from that point on. I glanced at him and kept my mouth shut, tying the scarf even tighter. I walked through the palace gates with a light step, so I didn't notice the complicated look in Leonard Meng's eyes behind me. When I saw the emperor, my eyes stung as I looked at the memorials stacked by his hand. Father, you must take care of your health. In the book, once you died, Leonard Meng started moving against me. I would have no way to escape. QAQ, the emperor laughed and reached to pat my head, but then his gaze fell on the scarf at my neck. His brows knit. Lily, what happened? The prince consort dared lay a hand on you? He slammed the table, eyes cutting toward Leonard Meng. Leonard said nothing, lifting his robes to kneel and plead guilty. The servants around us barely dared to breathe. The atmosphere froze. I shoved Leonard back down and with a show of shyness, said to my father, Father, this is from us fooling around in the room. Your daughter was just covering it. The emperor choked. The muscles under my hand went rigid for an instant. Leonard Meng stared at me in disbelief. I went on, Father, the prince consort is only cold on the outside. His heart is warm. I was too childish before, so there were some misunderstandings. Thanks to his guidance, we prepared these gifts together. I hurriedly had people bring in bag after bag of presents. I hadn't dated in my previous life, but I'd seen friends bring boyfriends home. So each bag was filled with good wine, fruit, and pastries from outside the palace. I'd also found famous paintings I knew Father would love. We stacked them into a small mountain before the throne. The emperor was delighted. He ordered a banquet and kept us for dinner. Over the meal, he clinked cups with Leonard Meng. After a few rounds, tears streamed down Father's face. Forgetting rank, he patted Leonard Meng's shoulder. The empress died early. Lily was even once told by a diviner she was born missing a soul. I raised her alone, as both father and mother. I spoiled her. You must be more patient. She's a good child, filial and kind. Leonard made no reply, drinking one cup after another in silence. Watching Father like this, my heart ached. Lily was not a good child at all. She was ruthless, arrogant, and had harmed many people. Yet at the end of her life, the one she thought of most, the one she felt most guilty toward, was still her father. But by then, the loving father who had adored Lily was already a mound of dirt. On the way back, I was still a bit downcast. Your Highness. Leonard Meng suddenly spoke. Frowning slightly, he leaned in, pinched my chin between his fingers, irritation and confusion in his eyes. Why did you cover for me today? A very good question. Here was my chance to show some loyalty. I straightened my expression. General Meng, feeding you that love goo was my fault to begin with. You were just in an emergency and didn't know your own strength. It's normal. How could I push the blame onto you? As I spoke, I watched Leonard's face carefully. Good, he didn't seem angry right now, but his next words made my heart leap into my throat. The princess seems to have changed, Leonard said suddenly. Compared to before, you seem a bit more reasonable. My heart clenched. I forced a smile. Maybe I've figured some things out. I can't keep making a mess like before. Leonard's eyes were like a hawk's as they swept over me. He said quietly, with meaning, Yes, it's good you figured it out. Cold sweat prickled down my back. Riddles. Why do men love speaking in riddles? I had no idea what he meant. Was he suspicious? Of what? His sharp gaze made me feel like a criminal being interrogated, sweat-drenched and cornered. To keep from showing my nerves, I quickly changed the subject. General Meng, do you want a divorce? The air in the carriage solidified. His aura pressed down around me like something tangible, making it hard to breathe. But I had to go on. I can ask Father for a divorce document. Don't you want to return to the battlefield? Before I could finish, a big hand clamped around my waist. The look on his face was as though he were suppressing a killing urge. His voice was low. Princess, do you know what point this is? His fingers tapped lightly at my lower back. I clenched my fists and tried to sound steady. I don't. This is the life gate acupoint. Leonard gave me a dangerous smile. With my internal strength, I can pierce it easily. You die without a sound. So don't try to fob me off with these false, honeyed words. Inwardly, I was weeping. A real violence maniac. Out loud, I had to continue. I mean it. I really want a divorce. Leonard's smile turned mocking. Break the love goo and I'll believe you. Me, what, regretting it already? His expression said, as expected. Me to break the love goo, we have to do that. Chapter 2, Silence. Silence was the only sound in the carriage. There were no words left to say. This was, after all, a dog-blood romance novel, which meant it was destined to be bold and steamy. If that platform hadn't banned everything below the neck, this love goo alone could have fueled a few 100,000 words of smut. Facing Leonard Meng's unreadable face, I could only plaster on an awkward smile. There's really no other way? He asked in a low voice. I wished there were. But I had no idea where Lily had bought this shady, unregistered product. There wasn't a single contact we could ask. I couldn't even investigate if I wanted to. How did you plant the love goo in me? Leonard's tone was ice. I dug through the original storyline in my head, then said softly, Wine. On our wedding day, in the nuptial cup His Majesty bestowed. Leonard's expression grew darker. Where did you get the goo? Tell me everything you know. Even as he questioned me, his fingers kept circling on my lower back. There was nothing seductive in the motion, only anger and threat. I racked my brain for anything about the love goo in the book, but my own body was starting to feel strange. It's like drinking will trigger the goo. If the one with the mother goo feels desire, the one with the child goo will feel it as well. What else? I rubbed my eyes. Weird. Why is my vision going white? I turned my head toward Leonard. He was every bit his name, stern and severe. When he lifted his eyes, he was as dangerous as some untamed beast. He frowned and seemed to say something, but I couldn't focus. The hand at my back kept searing heat into my skin through the fabric of my clothes, pooling into a warm current that spread through my body. I didn't need a mirror to know my face was scarlet. This was bad. The wine at Father's banquet had triggered the love goo. My mind flashed with countless scenes that would get an account banned and safely managed in some dark little corner. Worse, I covered my face and peeked at Leonard. General Meng, this? He too was flushed, and he squeezed my cheek, clearly irritated. Snap out of it. Stop thinking those filthy things. I can't stop. I was already struggling not to tilt my head up and ask for a kiss. In the book, the love goo was described as terrifyingly potent, turning even the coldest heart into a passionate one. Anyone could be made to fall for you, if you wanted. But I didn't want to force a man with no feelings into love. Leonard Meng already had the heroine in his heart. General. I mumbled into my own hands, helpless. A desire I'd never felt before kept battering my mind, leaving me unable to think. Tears spilled down in fat drops. Leonard clenched his fists, breathing harshly as he struggled for control. With shaking fingers, I groped for the carriage door. I shoved it open and jumped. Behind me, Leonard's furious roar rang out. He was beyond angry. He even shouted my full name. Lily, why? What are you doing? What was I doing? Stopping myself from making a huge mistake, obviously. Luckily, the carriage had already slowed. I only rolled twice across the ground before stopping. The pain cleared the haze in my mind in an instant. Lily, why? The carriage screeched to a halt a few paces away. A tall shadow strode over and hauled me upright. Are you insane? Leonard yanked at my collar, his eyes like knives as he scanned me up and down. I quickly raised my hands in a placating gesture. I'm fine. His gaze suddenly locked on my palm and elbow, on the skin scraped raw by the stone road, red and bloody. It looked worse against my naturally pale skin. Leonard seemed to have 100 scolding words at the ready, but when he saw my disheveled hair and dust-smeared face, he ended up saying nothing. Seeing he wasn't angry, I said earnestly, I really didn't mean to trigger the love goo. I'd just forgotten about it for a moment. Please don't kill me someday for this. Understood. His expression was strangely complex. Let's go home. The servants of Princess Manor were already waiting for me. Once I'd returned to the main courtyard, Leonard left, heading in the direction of the training grounds. From the moment I jumped from the carriage to our arrival home, he hadn't said another word. I should have been used to this kind of silence long ago, and even grateful. Who wants to chat with a living king of hell? I pressed down the faint, inexplicable feelings in my chest and stepped through the gate. Seeing me leave for the palace in perfect shape and return in such a sorry state, the maid's eyes turned red. They were ready to summon the imperial doctor. "It's late. No need to trouble the doctor. Don't make a fuss." I waved them off. "It's just a scratch. Jade, go get some medicine." I truly wasn't used to being treated like the moon surrounded by stars, so I dismissed them all. "Your Highness?" Jade came back with the medicine and began to wash my wounds. As she ladled water, she hesitated, then said, "You really have suffered." "This?" I lifted my hand and laughed. "Just a small injury. It was well worth it. At least Leonard wouldn't suspect me of having some ulterior motive anymore." "It's not just the wound." Jade's eyes were bright with tears. "Watching you around the prince consort, you're so careful, too careful. It's not fair to yourself." I only smiled wider, teasing her on purpose. "It's fine. I'll probably be divorced soon anyway." Jade froze, then bristled with anger. "Does the prince consort dare to bring that up? Outrageous." Once the ointment was applied and my injuries were wrapped in fine cotton, my arm felt sticky and uncomfortable. Jade fussed over me, warning me over and over not to move so I wouldn't scar. I didn't care about scars. After she left, I lit a small lamp and reached up to undo the bandages. The moon was high when the light suddenly flickered. Alert, I looked up and saw a figure standing in the doorway. "Don't make a sound," he said quietly. My heart nearly stopped. Leonard Meng walked in and said very simply, "Take off your clothes." "Big brother, what kind of thug are you trying to be?" "Put away those filthy thoughts," Leonard snapped, frowning. Only then did I notice the small jar and oiled paper packet in his hands. "For your wounds. Large abrasions shouldn't be wrapped in cloth." He glanced once at my overbundled arm and stepped straight in, sitting at the table to unwrap the paper. "Roll up your sleeve." I hurriedly shoved the sleeve up. Worried it wasn't enough, I pushed it all the way to my shoulder and knotted it. Leonard looked up just in time to see my bare arm. He froze for a heartbeat, then jerked his gaze away. "You don't need to roll it that high." I blinked. "But there's a cut on my upper arm too." He took a deep breath, forced his eyes back, but he only looked at the wound, not at me. A bold thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Was he shy? Something swelled in my chest, nudging me to say more. "General Meng," I said softly, "actually I have wounds on my leg too." He kept his head down, fiddling with the clay seal on the jar. "I need to disinfect the wounds with strong liquor." As soon as the seal came off, a blast of potent alcohol hit my nose. I quickly covered my face with a handkerchief. Was I fated to fight with alcohol all night? He took a piece of clean cotton, wiped off the previous medicine, then dipped it in the liquor and pressed it to my arm. Disinfecting with alcohol hurt like fire, worse than the initial injury. The wound that had started to go numb awakened in sharp, stinging pain. I sucked in a breath through my teeth. "Bear with it." Leonard worked quickly and firmly, swabbing the wound and surrounding skin in a few brisk passes. Sweat broke on my forehead, and that was just the first cut. There were still more. "Do you know what this liquor is?" he asked abruptly, voice a bit stiff. "I bought it from traders in the Northwest region. The nickname is Knockout Mule, stronger than even burn knife spirits. It isn't brewed from rice like Central Plains wine. I meant to reward my subordinates with it." He was not a talkative man. After a few sentences, he faltered. I laughed. "Thank you, General Meng." I understood. He was talking just to distract me from the pain. I took that kindness to heart. To return the favor, I offered him something too. "General Meng, I've decided, when I'm healed, I'll go to father and ask for a divorce. I'll also find a way to deal with the love goo." I smiled. "You're a rare talent. You shouldn't be trapped here by me." I poured 2 cups of tea, one I pushed to him, one I raised. "Everything that's happened until now has been Lily's fault. I'll do my best to make it up to you." He paused. He looked at me steadily, eyes full of doubt and confusion. "Are you wondering why I'm letting go?" I smiled. "Liking a flower doesn't mean I have to pluck it. Letting it grow in a wider world is better, isn't it?" His breath hitched for a moment, then he took up the tea and drank it down. Once I've repaid this debt, can we at least be friends, General Meng? I blinked at him playfully. Maybe it was the promise of divorce, maybe something else, but his mood suddenly lifted. He smiled and nodded. I fetched a small box from the inner room and took out a booklet for him. An account book? Leonard opened it and flipped a few pages, then stared in shock. Your Highness, you? Scared you, didn't I? I laughed. That's more than half the wealth of Princess Manor. The book recorded how, after arriving in this world, I'd donated everything Lily had extorted. Some of it went to build charity halls, some to disaster relief, most of it to buy medicine, cotton robes, and other supplies for the soldiers. I don't own much, only this. Propping my chin on my hand, I watched his stunned expression and said softly, if a few more men, if a few more soldiers can survive this winter, maybe it'll balance some of the evil I did before. Before I'd finished, a rush of wind hit me. It was Leonard. He pulled me into a tight embrace and murmured, "Thank you. On behalf of every soldier you've helped, thank you." Lily. His arms were burning hot. He and that jar of liquor were the same, so hot they hurt. But I lay quietly against his chest, even lifting my arms to lightly circle his back. I knew what weighed on him. The army was always short of medicine, and winter was when they needed it most. I'd taken one worry off his shoulders. Just from the story, Leonard Meng was exactly my type of male lead. Decisive, loyal, sharing food and hardship with his men, brave and strategic in war. If I could help a commander like this, I'd be happy. I kept telling myself the pounding in my chest was only because of that. Only that. I entered the palace. The emperor was surprised to see me so early. "What is it today? You're here so soon." I took a deep breath, knelt and gave a formal bow. "Father, your daughter has a request." "Lily, get up and speak." He was taken aback, setting down his brush with a smile. "What is it that makes you so solemn?" "Father, I asked to divorce the prince consort." I bowed low, touching my head to the floor. Let this farce end. The hall was quiet for a moment, then Father's angry voice cracked through the air. "Has the prince consort treated you badly?" I shook my head. This marriage should never have happened. If I hadn't forced it, General Meng would already be at the border with his wife by now. "You are a princess, my little Lily. Whatever you want, I'll get it for you." His voice turned thick. "It's Leonard Meng who doesn't know his blessing." "But I will not allow a divorce," the emperor said. "You caused a huge uproar when you forced him into this marriage. Many wanted to impeach you. If, not long after the wedding, you demand a divorce, Lily, have you thought about your reputation?" I remained kneeling. He scolded, anger and love mixed in his voice. "You foolish child, your brain is muddled. Take the princess back to Zhaoyang Palace. Let her cool her head." I could only trudge back, crestfallen, to my old bedchamber. As soon as I stepped inside, Jade tiptoed over, eyes shining. "Your Highness, a message has arrived." I perked up immediately. News about the love goo. It was a tiny slip of paper, only large enough for one line. Jade whispered, "Your Highness, the woman who sold you the love goo left the capital city long ago. She'd left this note locked at her shop and only gave it up when we showed your token." I frowned and unfolded the paper. On it were just a few words. "When the heart stirs, the love goo will hurt." That made no sense. My heart clearly wasn't in it. I flipped it over. On the back was another line in big characters. "Your Highness, look at the small words below." There seemed to be another row of tiny writing. I leaned closer, but before I could read it clearly, a strong fragrance rushed up my nose, flooding my brain and turning it upside down. Those tiny characters said, "A little help, no need to thank me." The love goo inside me had been forcibly triggered. I curled up on the bed, biting the blanket hard. Jade wrung out cloths and fetched water. Just for mentioning divorce earlier, Father had shut me in as punishment. If he ever found out I'd fed someone a love goo, he might keel over on the spot. So I didn't let Jade call a doctor. I knew I could suppress the goo with cold. I held an ice cube in my mouth. The ice-cold cloths made all my hair stand on end, but it wasn't enough. I bit down on the blanket to stifle any sound. The boiling heat was melting me from the inside out. Even my bones ached. Lily, why did you give so much for a man who doesn't love you?" I wanted to ask the original owner, but pain blurred my eyes with tears. "Your Highness, let me call the prince consort. Please don't endure this alone." Jade knelt by my feet, sobbing. "If you keep this up, your health will be ruined." I hunched over, clutching my burning stomach, and forced out 2 words. Get out. Silence fell over the room. I bit down on the blanket and cried too. No pain if there's no love? Was that how the goo worked? In a daze, I felt someone sit at the edge of the bed and wipe the tears from my face. Didn't I tell you to leave? I couldn't see clearly, assuming it was Jade back again. It's me, Your Highness. A deep male voice answered. Leonard Meng. My already cloudy mind went blank. I shrank further under the covers. What are you doing here, General Meng? Tonight, my heart suddenly grew agitated. The tall man wrung out a cloth and began wiping the sweat from my face. So I came to see you. Once the sweat and tears were gone, I managed to open my eyes. He sat there, face serious, eyes dark. Why, when you suffer like this, don't you summon me? I smiled faintly. You're trespassing in the inner palace. If Father finds out, 10 heads wouldn't save you. I hadn't expected Leonard to be so stubborn. His Majesty already knows, so why? I sighed, fighting to keep my mind clear. General Meng, the love goo was something I forced on you. I'll bear the consequences. This is my punishment. He paused, then asked quietly, Your Highness, do you remember the jade pendant you snatched on our wedding day? That was meant for the Meng family's future daughter-in-law. So that had happened too. I didn't remember all of Lily's details, but I could only accept it. After we divorce, I'll find it and return it to you. Another fiery wave crashed through me, and I missed what he muttered next. A low whimper slipped out of me. I tried to burrow under the blankets again, but a hand caught my shoulder. Then his lips were on mine. In the tangle of breath and tongue, I heard him whisper, I'm sorry. His kiss slowly soothed the heat raging through my body, and the devouring pain ebbed away. I could no longer lie to myself that my pounding heart was just the goo. I had fallen for him. Chapter 3. When I woke, daylight was flooding the room. The man was gone. The eunuch Father had sent was already waiting outside, respectfully inviting me to the study. Lily, are you sure you want a divorce? The Emperor looked like he'd aged overnight, eyes bloodshot. I thought it over. If you truly can't live together, then that's that. A sour ache rose in my chest. It's my fault. I've worried you, Father. Lily, just tell me, have you really decided? He came over and patted my head. I nodded. Between me and General Meng, it's a cursed bond. You have no feelings at all? He sounded unwilling to give up. Lily, you silly child, maybe fate is right in front of you and you just don't see it. His words held something deeper, but I refused to search it out, refused to give myself hope. There really isn't any feeling, I said. I'm even afraid he'll misunderstand me. Father sighed. He didn't push further. He picked up his brush, wrote out the divorce papers, and stamped them with his seal. From now on, there's no tie between you. Clutching the document, I planned to return to the manor and give it to Leonard. As the carriage jolted along, my heart was not as light as I'd imagined. When I arrived, Jade and the steward were acting strangely. Jade whispered, Miss Evelyn Wan has sent a visiting card and is in the flower hall with the prince consort. Don't be upset, Your Highness. Our people are stationed outside the hall. We won't allow Miss Wan to cause trouble. Evelyn Wan, the heroine, was here? I froze, then hurried toward the flower hall. I crept up, stood on tiptoe, and pressed my ear to the window. It was very quiet inside. Only when my legs had gone numb did I finally hear Leonard speak. How are father and mother? They still refuse to see me. Evelyn's voice was low. Yes, on the day you married, father got drunk and clutched my father's memorial tablet, crying. He said the Meng family had guarded the border for generations. They couldn't accept a son who'd latched onto a woman for rank. Big brother, I heard Princess Lily already asked His Majesty for a divorce. Evelyn said, since she's letting go, come home. Father will forgive you, won't he? Leonard stayed silent for a long time. Just as I was about to lose all feeling in my legs, he finally replied softly, Tell father. It's my unfilial conduct. Evelyn was stunned, then her voice rose. Brother Meng, what do you mean by that? She burst into tears. Are you going back on our engagement? Leonard paused, then said helplessly, Yes. My heart lurched, like a thunderbolt had struck me. I stumbled toward the flower hall door. Let's talk this through, don't break the engagement. At the exact same moment, Evelyn's choked voice rang out. That's wonderful. This was, without question, the most awkward moment of my life. Legs and arms numb, I let the male lead help me into a chair, while the original heroine kindly instructed me which pressure points to press to get the feeling back faster. Lady, my whole soul is numb. What pressure point is going to fix that? Miss Wan, what did you mean by that's wonderful? I asked, voice trembling. Evelyn blinked. She glanced at Leonard, then at me, and answered meekly. In reply to your highness, I meant wonderfully perfect, truly excellent. Leonard rubbed his forehead and picked up her thread. Evie and I were betrothed as children, but neither of us wanted that. I'm always at the border, rarely home. Evie loves painting. She's secretly apprenticed to a master, and often travels far from home. Marriage would only burden us both. Truly, so sister-in-law, you taking Big Brother away was a relief to me. Evelyn grinned. She was a bright, brisk girl, and her smile was easy to like. Otherwise, I couldn't travel and paint anymore. Sister-in-law, I've always respected him as an older brother, as a second father. If I had to marry him, I'd feel so awkward. Evelyn squeezed my hand gently as she massaged my calf. Leonard nodded slightly. They were consoling me, telling me there was no romance between them. My fingers brushed the divorce papers hidden in my sleeve. A selfish thought flashed through me. If I didn't take them out, could I remain Leonard Meng's wife? I wanted to go to the border with him, to see the lands he protected, the soldiers my money had aided. I wanted to hear him talk about wine again, even if his stories were dull. I wanted to tell him honestly what was in my heart, and for him to tell me his. We would be one as husband and wife, with no more secrets. But I couldn't. Without divorce, the prince consort could never return to military command. How could I keep a beloved flower in a tiny vase? I see, that's good. I smiled and drew the document from my sleeve. Congratulations, Leonard Meng. His brows knit sharply, but I went on. You're free. As expected, our divorce sent shockwaves through the realm. I was condemned from all sides. Courtiers and commoners alike cursed me, eager to rip me to shreds with words. Some even petitioned the emperor to strip me of my title and cast me out as a commoner. Father rejected them all. This time, without his ordering it, I quietly placed myself under house arrest. Princess Manor's front gate grew quiet. At last, I had time to enjoy a leisurely, refined princess life. The day after our divorce, Leonard Meng received an urgent imperial decree sending him back to the border. There were foreign incursions, they said, and the great general was needed. By now, we hadn't seen each other in months. I didn't know whether he was safe. The tug of the love goo between us was growing weaker and weaker. Over those months, I gradually absorbed and digested all of Lily's memories. The more I saw, the more I was convinced I was probably the missing soul she'd been born without. Only when I arrived did she become whole. As it turned out, if the goo met a person with no love, it would slowly fade over time. I felt a bit relieved and a bit sad. So it had always been one-sided. A few more months passed. Winter came and went. The capital city was bustling with new gossip. Slowly, no one talked about our divorce anymore. Only Evelyn still dropped by now and then, but she always wore a hesitant look, which I couldn't quite figure out. Your Highness, smile. She was painting me today when she said, no, not that faint smile. Think of someone you like, she prompted, then shook her head again. Still not right. The night outside was beautiful. I poured myself a cup of wine and filled one for her. What kind of smile, then? I don't know. Maybe a very bright one. Evelyn said. Only that would suit you. I suddenly remembered the night I'd first arrived here. The sky had been full of stars, too. Maybe it was the wine. I suddenly felt terribly wronged. I don't have anyone I like anymore. He's gone far, far away. I can't see him, and we can't be married. I wiped at my face in a panic, not noticing the flickering light outside or Evelyn's hasty departure. I kept crying, swallowed by my own misery. I miss him so much. Who does the princess miss? A low voice coaxed at my ear. Tell me. The sour tang of liquor hovered at my lips as a familiar warmth seared them. After so long, I finally felt the love goo stir again. It melted into a warm current, flowing through my body. Dazed, I lifted my head and made out that familiar, deep-cut face. Leonard Meng. He smiled. Correct. This is your reward. He bent down to kiss me again. Don't kiss me, I sobbed. This is wrong. We can't marry. You won't be able to return to the battlefield. Leonard chuckled, fingers brushing my hair. Is that what you're worried about, Lily? Don't be afraid. After this last battle at the border, there will be peace for decades. I've laid down my armor. If war comes again, His Majesty will appoint me once more." His lips brushed my ear. My face burned, but I still protested. "You don't even like me, so why?" He laughed softly, his features gentler in the candlelight. "You said that loving a flower doesn't mean you must pluck it. Giving it a wider world to grow in is better. But now, this flower wants to live in a small vase, under your long, unwavering gaze, with all of itself keeping you company. Will you let it?" "Yes." We smiled together.